At least two people have died during protests in Kenya, which of course took place yesterday, the latest in a series of protests against recent tax hikes and the rising cost of living. Police in the capital, Nairobi, were seen firing tear gas towards some stone-throwing protesters who set fire to tires. Yesterday's protest was the second within a week.
Well, Kenya's opposition leader Raila Odinga, who lost against President William Ruto in last year's elections, has repeatedly called on Kenyans to protest as the country struggles with debt and rising prices. The new taxes have added to frustration in East Africa's economic hub, with inflation at around 8%, while the hikes have for now been suspended by the country's High Court. Well, we're looking forward to bring a lawyer and public affairs analyst to join us. Mr. Dudley, if you're there, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, you're a lawyer, you're a public affairs analyst. Let's start first with the later. Let's look at what the affairs of the nation is looking like, especially the situation, and what Kenyans are indeed saying, seeing that there's chaos everywhere.
Well, what happened is that the Inspector General of Police outlawed all protests. So he set up the scene for a confrontation between the police and citizens exercising their right to protest peacefully and unarmed. And so by illegalizing the demonstrations, he suspended the constitution. And that, of course, causes public anger. So people go out ready to fight when they just want to express their voice. I think that's what has happened here. The police were ready to kill, and they did kill people. I hope that measures for accountability are taken.
Yeah, but I also want to understand, if these protests, I don't know if it's the right to ask if they're organic or they are really just being engineered by Raila Odinga. That's one thing I want to know. And also, I mean, will these things have happened? Do you think that William Ruto is being justly rated? I mean, do you think that the people are being patient enough with him? I don't know how much time he's been given to implement the changes that they're demanding. Do you think that it is a fair timing, for people to start, getting on the street to protest? And will they have been protesting if Raila Odinga didn't, initially, a couple of weeks ago, months ago, call for protest?
On basic commodity and raised the cost of living amidst a global economic crisis, a recession. They've increased taxes on petrol, doubled it, VAT on petrol from 8 to 16%. That has a spiral effect. And so yesterday we saw a matatu strike all over the country, including in areas that have never been associated with Raila Odinga, the central parts of the country, that areas that where you'd never hear his name. There was a matatu strike all over the country, including those areas. So I think it's gone beyond Raila Odinga, because the cost of living is not just high for Raila Odinga and his supporters. It's high for everyone. Everyone is complaining about those taxes. When National Assembly was considering the bill, they received representation from all over the country, telling them that, no, you are going to increase the cost of living, and we cannot absorb more taxes. On the other side, William Ruto, the president, made 50 appointments, cabinet-level appointments, of people called cabinet administrative secretaries, who are really just cronies and political supporters who would help him to campaign. And so the public see that they're being made to bear more and more burdens. The cost of living is already high and taxes are doubling. I do not think it is just about Raila Odinga at this point.
No, but this is why I'm asking, because of course, if you remember a couple of months ago, Raila Odinga basically was the one championing these protests and calling that people come out, even given time frames. I'm also seeing that there's plans for 3 days or 4 days of protests from next week. So that's why I mentioned his name earlier. But Has William Ruto been able to explain to Kenyans enough the reasons behind these increases in the cost of living? And that's why I'm asking if he's being judged unfairly.
I beg your pardon?
Can you hear me well, Mr. Dudley?
I had a bit of a moment with my gadget.
Okay, I'm asking if William Ruto is being judged unfairly. Has he been given enough time to maybe also explain to Kenyans the reasons
I hear you.
behind the
I had a
increment in the
question.
cost of living?
Well,
Yes.
the promises that he made coming into office, he said he wanted 100 days to make certain changes. We are heading to a year. There are promises he made for 3 months, for 6 months, and the things that government can do instantly. When President Kibaki came into office, he promised to give Kenyans free education in 100 days. He done that. I think 100 days is a benchmark for checking government effectiveness of a new government. It's sufficient time to make changes. You'll remember that the current government has bought off MPs and now they have the majority in parliament. They have all they need to give Kenyans the changes that they effected. They've had enough time. And Kenyans are not just worried about the cost of living, they're also worried about the slide back to authoritarianism. The police saying that we banned protest despite Article 37 of the Constitution. So I think it's not a matter of time, it's a matter of the signs of the times, and Kenyans are worried about that.
All right, you had mentioned that this has led to deaths. I mean, we've seen a number, quite a number that's been brandished or branded, especially on the front pages. Can you confirm to us how many people have died so far, if you do have the figures? And most importantly, we do know that it has been stopped and that there's possibly going to be a review on taxation. Can you confirm these to us?
Well, we do not know exactly how many the government killed yesterday because there was a media blackout.
You're saying the government. The government, I don't think the government killed.
It is the government. Police officers work for the
maybe
government.
the police officers. I mean, the police officers, they are an extension of, the government. But if you say the government, you might be saying the government sent the police officers to kill. I don't know if there's any communicate to that.
Well, the Inspector General of Police has command responsibility. He answers directly to high state office, and the state is responsible for the acts of its agents. In short, the government is responsible to protect human life, and it did not here. So we do not know how many were killed yesterday because there was a bit of a media blackout. We'll get to know shortly. It's an unfortunate situation. About the taxes, we are doing a case against the Finance Act, and the High Court has suspended the act for now. But there is contempt of that court order, and that is what is increasing the public annoyance. So despite the court order, the price of petrol has gone up. It has now hit 200 Kenya shillings. Just in the dollar's just gone up, it's 141 at the moment. And there's this public annoyance that won't be swept away by police brutality.
Yeah, all right.
Because the citizens outnumber the police anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, as always. Mr. Dudley, thanks a lot for stopping by. Like I said earlier, we hope that the protests do not produce more deaths and more mortalities. And President William Ruto is knows what's at stake and what must be done. We'll be speaking with you again.
Thank you, Mr. Dudley.
Thank you.